I saw we first here in Tsama Nafshi. Our second share of the day, we're in Mishna Berura. Tsama Nafshi is located in Yerushalyim, HaKodesh, on HaKodesh number 6, in the Beit Knesset of Yeshiva. And we're learning now Siman Kuf Zayin on the Supik Imispala. The person is doubtful as to whether he prayed. We're talking about Shmona Esrei, the din, and also the corollary halacha of the din of Tfilas Nadaber, a free will, non-obligatory Shmona Esrei. Okay, who would like to begin reading the Mechaber? Okay, go ahead.
Im hu misupach, im hipalel. If he is in doubt at whether he prayed.
Yep, exactly.
Is that happening? Does that happen very often?
We hope it doesn't happen very often, but
the average person, I don't think he.
Well,
when he gets up, he's.
Let's say a person, it's Motzi Purim, and it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and he decides for himself, he's wondering as to whether he got invited or not. The last thing he remembered, he was dancing strong on Purim afternoon, just before Shkia. And now it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and everyone else in the house is sleeping soundly, and he wakes up and he wonders to himself, did I doubt him or not?
In my opinion, would be a rare occasion. The average Purim committed to...
On Purim?
Purim is... how often is Purim?
It's happened to me. It's happened to me that I wasn't
So
sure.
you danced them once you drank them.
I come home from Yeshiva, and I get involved in a whole bunch of things, and then it gets to be like 7 o'clock, and did I dominate Yeshiva? Did I definitely get home? Yeah, happens. Sure. It happens at night sometimes too. The night goes by, and then I'm wondering, right after I
Maybe you keep a little book in your pocket and lock there when you're done, so you won't have the super.
Al kol panim, regardless whether it is, we're not concerned whether it occurs to 11.3% of the population or 93.2% of the population, but even if it's just one person, one Jew in one generation it happens to, it's worth writing the halacha for him.
Very fortunate.
Yeah. Chozer, he goes back and he pull out and he prays.
So that's
surprising because
why is that surprising? Why is that surprising?
Deraisa lechumra, Rabbanan lekula.
You don't understand the question that who was asking. We have a suffix. There's a suffix whether he davens or not. So, as we understand, except according to the Shittas of the Rambam, Tefillah is according to almost all persons, except the Rambam, Tefillah is Nidurabbanan. Shmona Esrei especially is Durabbanan. Right? So, there's a suffix in Durabbanan. And why should he go back and suffix? There is part
is it considered Bachal Batala if you daven? There's a suffix?
Well, once the Mechaber paskins, in the case of the suffix, you have to go back and daven, so it's not a bracha miltala. Well, let's say a person he's drinking his iced tea there, and the super weather made a bracha rishon on it, right? So if there's no psak from the Shulchan Aruch in suffix, you have to go back and do it again. So to make a bracha on the suffix that you maybe didn't, that would be a bracha miltala. Even if it turns out that he did in fact not make a bracha, but at the time he wasn't sure. So we have to see why should Shmona Esrei be different, especially if you're dealing with 18, 19 brachas.
Ve'eno tzarich lechadesh shum devar, and you do not need to renew.
Chadesh to make something new. Chadesh to invent anything new. You can't. This will be the basis of the Tfilas Nadaber. We have our standard Shmona Esrei, right? And usually if you've said your Shmon Esrei, you are Yotzei Deicha Basar, you have fulfilled your obligation. But the basis of a Tfilas L'Davi is if you want to go back and now daven a new, unrequired Shmon Esrei, you have to mechadish, well, you have to create something, you have to invent something new within the context of the Shmon Esrei, which you want to daven and pray for. In general, Bisman is that we don't do this anymore. It was a halakha at one time, and they were able to do it at one time. But since we'll see, the reason will be brought down by the Mishna Berura, maybe the Makabah himself. But in general, we don't do this. Okay, before we go further, the halakha is about this detailed. So let's maybe just learn the first few Mishna Beruras on this halakha as it stands right now. The basic point about a person who's Mesuka.
Im his palel?
Yes, you cut the aleph in
The Inyan Krias. Concerning the subject of the reading of the Shema, Uvir Koseha and its blessings, Im Mis Tapeh, Ayin La'el, the Siman Samech Zion. So, concerning the subject of the reciting of the Shema, I don't know what Mistapeh means.
If he's in doubt.
If he's in doubt, we can look above to see information about it.
Assuming some design. So here, this halakha is talking about tefillah, Shmon Esrei. Now, in terms of Kriyishma, right, that over there is explained in Samech Zion that since that's deraisa, you have a Savik deraisa. So as you said, Savik deraisa l'chumra.
Right.
And now that's also going to include the brachas too. It's the brachas of Kriyishma, right? Brachas of Kriyishma are going to be those will be Durabana. But you also go back and say the brachas of Kriyishma as well. Right? So, yeah, you can take a look. Let's see. Yeah, if you want to turn back to Samech Zion, right? That's a nice percentage of the pages previously.
Samech Zion.
Zion, Samech Zion. Okay. Din Safek Imkar Kriyishma. The halakha of the person who is in doubt as to whether or not he read Kriyishma. Yeah, you have it. What page is it?
It's Rish Pei-Dal.
Sorry. Oh, we're almost here. This new test.
Safek im Torah Kriyas Shema. The doubt if he read the Shema. Chozer the Koreh, go back and read it. Umevarich the Faneha, and bless before it. Okay, so read the Shema and the blessing before the Shema. Ul'acharecha, and the blessings after the Shema. Aval im yodea, but if you know shekira'ah, that you did read, ella, rather shemisupah, there is a doubt, im berach, if you blessed the faneha before it, ul'achareha, and after it, eino chozer u'mevarich, do not go back and bless. So if you're not sure, if you're not sure if you said the Shema in the brachas, then you go back and you say the brachas and the Shema.
Correct.
But if you know that you said the brachas, but you're just not sure if you said the Shema, then you just say the Shema. But if you know you said the brachas before and after, how could you say the brachas before and after and not say the Shema?
Okay, it's
I can see
most
if it was
not.
wrong.
It's not likely. It's not likely. But
I mean, it would seem impossible. You're saying the brachas and then you get to the Shema and you skip.
Maybe if someone's tired,
What?
if someone's very tired,
Oh, you kind of dozed
go on
off.
automatic, and then it's possible.
Oh, that's an interesting.
many people last for Shakis yesterday were very tired. Staying
That's
up all
why I've
night.
gotten them on.
Staying up late all night. So people are dozing off.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good
So
point.
yeah, so he has to,
So he kind of goes like this and he says, what did I say? So then he's got to be sure. Okay, so he finds himself in the middle of the bracha achrona and he remembers that he started saying the brachas,
Right.
but he's just, okay, I hear it.
So just take a quick look here at the Mishna Berura at the bottom. Kriyas Masif Kat Na'alef. Have it there.
Here, this.
Yeah. And so.
Kriyas Shema, this is the reciting of the Shema. Uvishar mitzvos deoraisa, and it is a Torah law. Here,
That's actually where, in what case?
where shemechuyah. Shemechuyav.
Obligated.
What?
Obligated.
Oh, so that he's obligated la'asos osa to do it
Mistake.
He's obligated to recite it from a doubt.
Right. So you'll be dependent on exactly what mitzvah deraisa you're dealing with, right? And in what case it's going to be the suffix. In general, the rule is if you're mesubik about a mitzvah deraisa, you should go ahead and do it again. Sometimes it involves a bracha, sometimes not, right? So in general, the brachas, as we're going to see at the end of it, we saw that already this machaber here, the brachas you won't go back if you're mesubik about it, right? If you take a look at Sifkat and Beis, go on to the next page. You go to the next Sifkat and Beis, the next page, Chozavit Koira. You go back and read the Kriya Shema. Should be Sifkat and it's Choy right there.
Okay.
Found it, Baruch? You have this place there? It's on the next page, about 4 lines, 5 lines into the Mishna Berura, the last word on the word line, the dates.
Ta'am, the reason that you go back and read the Shema, Dikaima, that we established lan to it.
Actually, to us, the Kaima line, it's established to us.
It's established to us. Kriyas Shema Doraisa, that the reading of the Shema is Doraisa. Klomar, as to say, Daha, that this, Dik Siv, as it is written, V'dibarta bam, and you will teach them, you speak of them, B'shivtecha v'secha, in your gates and in your house, etc. So that's the source in the Torah. Koye Afarasha.
In this paragraph.
This Gufa, the text, Shechayav, that you're obligated, you are there to speak, go in it, bish'as, in the time, shechiva, va'amida, and standing. What is shechiva?
That's the time of lying down. B'shas shchiva v'amida.
Lying down and standing up.
The times that are prescribed by the Torah that we have to say the Shema is one at the time of shchiva, of lying down, and one at the time of amida, of getting up.
Lefichach, therefore, im mistapek, if you are in doubt, im kara o lav, if you read it or not, chayav lechazor, you're obligated to go back, malik ros, and to read, kechol safeka, from all, like all doubts, that are Torah.
Right. Since it's a Torah commandment that you have to read the Kriya Shema at the time of shchiva, of lying down, and again at the time of amida, of getting up. Therefore, if you're in doubt as to whether or not you did that, you have to go back and do it, like every other suffix deraisa.
How do we provide the time of Shchiva? We say Kriya Shema, but it's the time of Shchiva? That's Kriya Shema Shema.
Well, that depends. That's since we have incorporated the Kriya Shema along with the Tfilas Ma'ariv, right? So usually we daven with we obligated to daven with the tzibur. So we say the Kriya Shema along with the tzibur and Ma'ariv.
But where's the Shchiva?
The time of Shtiva, not the, that's you're thinking about Beis Shammai. Beis Shammai said you have to lie down when you say Kriya Shema, right? Specifically, right? And you specifically have to say stand up when you say Kriya Shema in the morning. But Beis Hillel says no. It's the time of the Shtiva and the time of the Niva. You don't have to specifically lie down.
Every part's going to go into Beis Hillel?
Basically.
All but three cases.
Yeah.
Okay, continue or?
Let's go back to what we. That was in Siv. They were doing Siv base by us back in Kub Zayin, and Siv base, Siv cut and base in the Mishna Berura.
Those are
Musaf. The additional prayer, She'ein Nis Halalim, that you don't pray, Osa it, B'nidava.
In Mishna Berura, the Siv cut in the Mishna. Siv cut and base in the Mishna Berura.
Oh, sorry.
Right.
Here?
Oh, he's in the spot
Over here.
Here we are.
Who's there? Go back and pray. Umasneh v'omer. Umasneh. What's umasneh?
That's to make a conditional statement, right? Masna, when you make it Tanai, you say something al Tanai, the expression al Tanai, so you do this and this al Tanai under the condition.
Right.
So Hasna is the verb form. And Masna v'omer, he makes a conditional statement v'omer, and he says,
Im lo his halalti, if I didn't pray, tehei lechovati, it should be that I'm obligated. Ve'im his halalti, and if I did pray, tehei lin dava, it should be, I don't know what nidava is.
that means a free will, a non-obligatory, voluntary. Right. So this is going to be the answer to your question about the brachas, right? With this conditional statement, he's eliminating the question of the suffix brachas lahakia.
So you're allowed to just say, I want to pray a voluntary sunnah.
Right, because at the time when we were accustomed to and we were allowed to make these voluntary prayers, right, so you simply would make a conditional statement that if I did pray, right, so this prayer that I'm praying now is going to be a voluntary prayer.
So let's say something happens, something very significant happens, and before just now, so I would stop and I would pray. I would say, thank you Hashem, or No, thank you. I would say just a prayer, just an ad hoc prayer
Right.
about what just happened.
Right.
So is this telling me that it's better to daven a Shemona Esrei?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. See, there's a certain formality of the Shemona Esrei which has certain advantages to it, right? But at the same time, it has some ramifications which are not so beneficial, right? So at the time when they were able, and it was suggested that they daven the Tfilas Nadaver, so it was praiseworthy to do this, right? So, but whether they did that in all circumstances, whether that they did it when they simply wanted to say thank you, that I'm not sure about. We can maybe find out more about it as we go on.
It seems that we take away some of the spontaneity.
That's also true. That's also true. There's nothing like a real, honest prayer from the heart.
Right.
Look, we have our obligation to daven Ma'ariv, Shabbos, and Mincha. Shemona Esrei. That's our obligation. You shouldn't pray the Shemona Esrei of these three prayers because you're obligated to. You have to do it because you realize what the significance of prayer is, right? What it accomplishes and what it means, and all the ramifications of prayer. But it's not as a show of praying just to relieve yourself of your obligation. I mean, nevertheless, the prayer, which is an honest, wholehearted prayer to HaKodesh Baruch Hu with thanks or needing help or something like that, that's what the Rambam himself calls, that's a tefillah, that's prayer d'oraisa. That's any slight percussion which a person honestly makes to HaKodesh Baruch Hu is fulfilling, according to the Rambam, the key of prayer d'oraisa.
Even though shekol suffix, that every doubt me divrei sofrim, from the words of the scribes, the hakel.
This is the answer to your question. You should call something even though that every doubt in a halacha or law, which is the divrei sofrim rabbinical, the halacha is lahakel, to be unique and not to repeat it.
Lahakel, okay. Mikol makom, in any case, hacha, here, kozer, go back, mispalel, pray. Nay, because shehalva, shemispalel, Shahalavai, that it should be that you pray, Adam, that a person prays, Kol Hayom every day, Bisoras Nidava, according to the Torah, Va'al Yidei Chidush.
So it's like this. So, Afal Pisha call suffix medivrei sofrim, even though that the law is that every doubt that we have in a halacha which is rabbinical is to be lenient and not to repeat what we have to do, right? We call home nevertheless hacha by us by kosher mispal. Here he goes back and prays. But they shahalavai shispal and call hayom b'toras medava ayidei chiddush. Halavai that we weren't able to pray the whole day long, right? In the context of a voluntary prayer by incorporating new things into it. Meaning, really, if you want to look at the situation the way things should be, we should really be in a state of continual prayer, right, the whole day long, continually adding more requests or giving praises to HaKodesh Baruch Hu the complete day long. So that's really what we should be doing. Which is really a...
is that deraisa that we should really be doing that?
That's... Yeah, in a certain way, that's the Tachlis Abriya. That's really the Tachlis Abriya. But, again, you have the situation of prayer, which is bringing a person close to HaKodesh Baruch Hu, right? So learning Torah is the most perfect way to bring a person close to HaKodesh Baruch Hu. Except it happens to be a mitzvah, right? Especially a mitzvah d'oraisa, which is incumbent upon him to do. And if he is obligated to fulfill a mitzvah, especially mitzvah d'oraisa, so at that time when he's obligated to do it, that's the most perfect thing to do to bring himself close to HaKodesh Baruch Hu, right? Prayer also brings a person to HaKodesh Baruch Hu, that connects a person to HaKodesh Baruch Hu, right? Which is the whole purpose of our being in this world, is to make a connection between us and HaKodesh Baruch Hu. So if a person can maintain that connection through, say, prayer in this particular case, by praying the whole day long and continually being insightful and inventing new ways of approaching Kadosh Baruch Hu with his heart, through his machshavas, through his ways of praising Kadosh Baruch Hu, through his ways of asking things from Kadosh Baruch Hu, right? So if the person was continuing in that state, right, that would be almost a perfect existence. Just like a person was able to learn constantly throughout the day and night, that would be a perfect state of existence. Yeah.
Bahacha, and here, Kishechozer, when he goes back to Hallel and prays, Al Hasafek, because of a suffix, Ein Tzarich Chidush. He doesn't need a Chidush.
Right. So normally if you wanted to pray all day long, you'd have to, right, invent something, mechadish something new. However, here, because he's obligated according to the halacha that he has to go back and daven again, so he doesn't have to invent mechadish anything new.
Ein Lecha Chidush Gadol, that there is not to you a great novelty, is that from this. Sheyatza Yedei Safeko, that he goes out of his obligation because of a doubt.
All right, meaning going from a state of being doubtful as to whether or not you fulfill your obligation, and praying now, and by praying now you are going out of that state of doubt as to whether or not you fulfill your obligation. That's the greatest kiddush you could possibly do. So you don't have to mechadish something within the context of the actual words of prayer that will give validity to that prayer which you're praying now.
Forgetting is that the worst thing?
Forgetting?
Under those circumstances.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, again, we're talking about this whole situation is pretty epic. Sure.
It is written in the way of life.
That's a sefer b'derech, and that's a sefer halachos.
The arvis, that there are four, the suffix in a doubt. Eino tarich, it's not necessary lechazor to go back.
Oh, no, that's the arvis in Ma'ariv, right? The Kasav B'derech Chaim, the Sefer B'derech Chaim wrote arvis. Let's say Ma'ariv. A person's in doubt, like the case I gave you earlier today, this morning, about the person at Purim time, he wasn't sure if he davened Ma'ariv or not.
Right.
So this is the case over here. He's super well he davened Ma'ariv.
Right.
So Ma'ariv is different. According to the Sefer B'derech Chaim, Ma'ariv is different. Why is Ma'ariv different? Right? That the arvis suffix ain't a chozer yuspal tefillas shmona esrei. If a person was doubtful as to whether he prayed Ma'ariv, he does not go back and say another shmona esrei for Ma'ariv.
Dik va'uha chova bevadai lo b'safek. What's this dik va'uha?
It's literally the kavua chayva divided lo b'safek. That the establishment of his obligation is bevadai lo b'safek. That the fact that he definitely has a obligation, right? There's no suffix about that.
how did that affect it? Did he forget Mervin?
Right. I was wondering about that myself.
Isn't Mariv optional?
Well, Mikra did it's optional. Now, for us, we've taken on as a chodesh. But really, in terms, because if there, according to the Gemara in Brachas, the Avos were matakin in Seder Tefillah. Avram was matakin Shachris. Yitzchak Avinu was masakin and Yaakov Avinu was masakin Mariv. Right? Another way that the Gemara explains is that the Seder of prayers, Shachris, and Mariv, are corresponding to the Korbanos. Right? The Korbanos were the Tamid of Shachir, Bein Arbaim, that's the afternoon Tamid, and then those are Chovos, those are obligations, the Tamid in the morning and Tamid in the afternoon, those are two Korbanos which are obligatory. The evening, there is no Korban in the evening. At night there is no Korban in the evening. However, what they do is they fill the Mizbeach, the fire of the Mizbeach is given to consume the limbs and organs of the korbanos which had not been burnt during the day. So usually in the evening time to burn the surplus organs and limbs of the korbanos that were sacrificed during the day. So it's not always necessary that would happen. Depends if they had a surplus or not. Right? So therefore, Myron, according to this way of understanding where we get the 3 times of davening, Shachris, Mincha, and Myron, that's not obligatory. Right? So we'll have to understand how that is a reason that if you're mesupik about Myron, according to Derech HaChaim, you don't have to go back and pray your previous Myron. Okay.
So what is